Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. Today I'm joined by Dani. Dani, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ben. So excited to be here.
You bet. Dani, well, thanks for the time. I'm really excited about the conversation today. Before we dive in, do you mind sharing just a little bit about your background and a little bit about what you love about marketing, some of your experience, just to give a little bit of context?
I am an entertainment marketing executive and advisor. Most recently, I was the head of brand and digital marketing at a premium television network called Showtime. And I've really come up in various spheres of the marketing world. And so I spent some time in public relations and social media and advertising before jumping in-house to a brand. So I've really seen the industry from all sides. In terms of why marketing, I'm fascinated with consumer behavior and culture and what really makes people tick. If you do it well, it's such an interesting part of the job of marketing is really understanding everyone is different. Everyone has different motivations and different interests. And there are things that drive mass culture. And then there are all these interesting little nooks and crannies of microculture that live in the world and online and at events and at all these different places. And so for me, I think really deeply diving in and understanding consumers and culture and how you as a marketer can help connect with them in a way that feels real and authentic is really exciting. And I think in TV, every show is almost a different product. And so you get to really have a ton of variety in the who and the how you engage.
I love that. I love the community building, relationship building, how to connect and communicate really resonates with me. I love that side of business and kind of how it focuses and that side of looking at marketing. So I love the motivation, very much in line with how I think. For today, we're going to talk about a subject that I think a lot of people are really focused on, but aren't quite sure how to take advantage of this opportunity, and that is content personalization. Now, obviously, when we're talking about content, we're talking pretty broad. You know, content can be a lot of different things on a lot of different platforms in a lot of different ways. But when you look at this, Dani, what do you look at when you are trying to find ways to personalize content? What is your process? What have you seen that has worked really well when it comes to content personalization? And how have you kind of harnessed some of that opportunity?
When I think about content personalization, I think where it can often go wrong is if you start and stop at automation. You know, the more we've been able to insert someone's name into an email or text them saying when we last heard from them, I think all too often we're stopping there. And to me, that's really the tip of the sphere. That should be table stakes in this day and age with the amount of data that people have on me and my online behavior and what I click and what my name is and when my birthday is. Communications, of course, should be tailored to basic information like, you know, if you have it, gender identity and age and name and geographic region and all of that. But I think where personalization gets really interesting is when you're thinking about your efforts as one-to-one human interaction and where can you find those moments that might be a lot more manual, but are also a lot more interesting and potentially offer a lot more value to a user. And so in my experience, we sat on a treasure trove of, you know, this qualitative data for every single television show we ever marketed. That's the benefit of having fans and fandom and critics for that matter, right? People who are detractors as well. And we'd find interesting ways to mine that. And so, you know, one thing that comes to mind is awesome example of content marketing for us. We were marketing the first season of a show named Yellow Jackets. The show has sort of two timelines that it follows. It follows a group of girls whose plane crashed in the woods. And, you know, in the 90s, they're trying to survive and trying to make it home. And it's flashing to the present day where you see who survived and what's going on and how this trauma sort of affected them. And season 1 out the gate, because it was just such a different premise and really breakthrough program, really commanded a lot of influential people jumping on the bandwagon really early. And so as a complete side character, one of the main characters has a bird, and the bird is named Caligula, and the bird became just sort of this proxy for the audience. The bird made it into memes, and people wondered about the bird's life, and it really became a total offshoot. And so, as a content marketer, it's an offshoot. It could be the thing that you ignore. It's not, the hero of the story that you're trying to sell. It's not the main draw that's going to bring an audience in. But we saw a celebrity, Anna Kendrick. She said, I'm going to get a Caligula, which is the bird's name, Caligula beanie when. And so she just was passionate about the bird as she's, expressing her interest in the show. So we quickly threw a designer at it. We comped up a graphic of what a Caligula beanie could look like. And so just responding to the tweet at first, right, with an image really took off. And the inherent reach that we got from just engaging and putting in the effort to make a graphic for one person really drove a lot of conversation, a lot of interest. It gained us a lot of credibility with the audience who thought it was cool that we took notice and engaged. And we could have stopped there, right? A lot of people could say, great, we responded to the celebrity tweet, big win. We said, we got to make this beanie. She wants the beanie now, ante is up. We really have to go for it. And so we produced the beanie. We mailed her the beanie. And, let's say when she gets it 2 weeks later, which is still in the run of our big initiative, she posts a photo of the beanie. She's losing her mind. She can't believe we made the beanie. And inherently what that did is we had a merch shop on the back end, right? And, we had pre-planned merch that we were going to sell. We had mugs and we had t-shirts and we had all that stuff. We hadn't pre-planned a beanie based on a side character. But what we had done through creating content, creating a product, and engaging in this really personalized way is we created demand for another SKU of merch. And so we dropped merch on the store. And then people, after this sort of life cycle of this individual moment, which started as a one-to-many type of approach, wanted to purchase the beanie, and they did. And so I think really putting in the effort to engage with one person on a really specific niche sort of thing won us credibility and loyalty from the audience, but then following it through in the biggest way that we could, which is truly make it, a product line that people can purchase, had some real business upside. And so I think it shows you can really create some demand that builds over time by starting small and growing with it.
I think that's such a cool story. I think it highlights a lot of really powerful concepts, all packed into that. One is something I'm really passionate about, which is content market fit. I mean, all that too often we talk about product market fit, but if people are engaging with you and you can create a single experience for one person and they just rave about it, that maybe there are others that really love that. And I love how you really took this singular, conversation, desire, need, and expanded it to a whole audience of people and a whole group of people who are participating. I mean, social media is really beneficial that way, that you can have those open forums and open discussions. So I think that's so cool. That's such a fun story. I'm going to have to go back and look at all the tweets about all this and stuff now. Shifting gears a little bit. So when you're looking at these same opportunities, how would you recommend businesses start to approach this? Maybe if they don't have the benefit of like this massive audience or these individuals, like an Anna Kendrick or something like that engaging, how would you recommend that they start to approach, the same philosophy of creating, one-off, one-to-one moments that can make a difference and how they can kind of expand it out to the rest of their audience?
I think it starts with the people, right? And in any business, in any offering, you are trying to find a person that will evangelize your product or your service or your voice if you are an individual. That's always in this marketing game, right? That's always where we start. And so we certainly had the benefit in TV of having a lot of advocates, but I'd say in any business and any strategy that I've ever developed, for me, it starts with that bullseye of who are the advocates of maybe this category or, this type of offering. Maybe they're not advocating for your business yet, but they're on Yelp celebrating a competitor, or they are online raving about a competitor, right? If you don't have them yet, they're out there somewhere talking about a similar category or service. And so I think trying to find where is the advocate pool and what can you learn from them and how do you apply it is always the starting point. There are certainly extreme examples of what you can do to delight someone. I forget what car brand it was, but recently I think a woman had posted something on TikTok that picked up in the news that was all over about her car getting flooded or crushed, or there was a crazy story about her losing her car, and this brand gave her a new car. And so maybe people are not every day advocating for car purchases, right? That's not a behavior you might see, but there are people talking about their experiences in your vehicle. And if this experience, which is I lost my car, which seems like it should be an insurance company problem, the brand said, well, we can get involved and we can help. And that's a one-to-one interaction that, we can provide some value. And so they looked for someone that, had an experience with their product, in this case, a negative experience, sadly, out of their control. And they said, how do we actually provide value to one individual here? And let's say the car probably costs $20,000. They got tons of press and lots of goodwill and, a real long tail of conversation and content around their brand just showing up for one person in that way. And so different category, but I think it's like those principles of find your advocates, understand them and their need states, and then try to offer value, however that value might manifest for one individual or a small group of people.
I saw, and I think that's a great example. I saw another one, Airbnb, a little while back. There was someone going to Italy, and she had booked a villa through one of their competitors, and she showed up and the villa was a complete fake. It just didn't exist. And she was on TikTok. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm in this country, this foreign country, and I have no idea where to go, what to do. Airbnb saw it, and they booked out a full villa for her whole vacation and comped her and said, hey, it's all free on us. And they got hundreds of thousands of dollars of free media and free press for this personalized experience for this individual. And I think it's really fascinating. These are all B2C kind of use cases. But I think like your message rings true that no matter who you're talking to, there are influencers. There are people, and they may not have big online followings, but they do have this realm of influence. And if you can capitalize on an experience with them, you get access to their network inherently. Have you seen like how, if I'm a B2B business and I'm just like, okay, I believe it. I believe in influencers. I believe in one-to-one experiences, things like that. Any recommendations of how those individuals could actually get started and start to apply this principle of one-to-one content and then figure out how to kind of expand that across maybe a bigger audience?
Yeah, I think from a B2B perspective, again, like I think same principles. It's hard to say without saying what the B2B offering is and who their audience is, but how are you rewarding, lifting up, and elevating people that are perhaps your biggest customers, or forwarding along your newsletter the most often, or reposting things you share with them on LinkedIn, or reviewing your business on the various platforms that you use, right? How are you really thinking about elevating things in certain ways? And so I think all too often in the B2B world, which is less my experience, but a little bit from the agency side of things, if a customer gives us a good review, our motivation is to use that review for ourselves, right? Post it wherever it benefits us as a testimonial and try to use it to get other customers. But what are you doing to reward that person for taking the time to give you the good review? Maybe thinking about the life cycle of tactics differently. I think B2B, you always try to bring things back into the funnel. But how are you taking the sort of engagement and the relationship with the positive voice one step further, whether that's deepening your relationship with them in some way, rewarding them for being a good customer. Maybe there's a discount structure that can be implemented, but really keeping that virtuous cycle of positivity going where you see it in some way and incentivizing it.
I love it. Yeah. And then obviously in B2B, we're not just selling to businesses, we're selling to people, and those one-to-one relationships are really, really important. Well, Dani, thank you for your experiences. Thank you for your insights. This was super fascinating. has me really thinking about these one-to-one experiences that I need to create in my own business and my career. Absolutely vital. Thank you so much. If anyone wants to connect with you and continue the conversation online, what's the best place for them to reach out? How can they connect with you?
They can look up my LinkedIn at Dani Caligera. DMs are open and happy to chat.
Love it. Perfect. Well, Dani, again, thanks for the time and appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.